Hello, I'm Rebecca Craske, a sustainability practitioner and facilitator, and I would like to share with you how I think we can leverage sustainable system change locally, but also on a broader scale by being inspired by nature, specifically in this case, slime mould. Forum for the Future highlight that we are now living with continuous discontinuity from cascading events and crises of all kinds, climate and ecological, political, social and technological. And with this, we have a need to adjust to a difficult and strange reality of having no new normal. And at the same time, scientists, human rights groups, Indigenous peoples and youth groups tell us clearly that we need to do more, we need to do it better, and we need to get on with it quickly to help bring us back or equitably manage the various brinks that we find ourselves on. And we know they're not wrong. Yet the more aware I have become and the more urgency we face as time has passed, the less equipped I've felt, personally or professionally. Equipped to be doing enough in the right way at the right time to help make sustainable change happen. What does being truly sustainable look and feel like in our here and now? I don't know, but I'm fairly sure that it's going to be different for each of us. There are amazing innovators, leaders, campaigners, politicians moving us forward with clear visions and solutions for a sustainable future that are going to help us all. But I'm not that sort of person, and I've struggled to find my sustainable way forward. Suffering at various times from different bouts of sustainability overload. That was until I stopped. Until I stopped feeling guilty, and I worked hard to stop feeling afraid. I stopped trying to assimilate the science, the politics and the practicalities and turn these into practical action. I stopped striving. And in stopping, I found a simpler path, still as passionately followed, but one of less doing and more being. And it turns out, being more like slime mould. Mad perhaps, but let me explain. Slime mould is not a plant or an animal. It's not a fungus, though it sometimes resembles one. It's amazing. Slime mould can live freely as a single-celled amoeba, but it can also aggregate together to form multicellular reproductive structures. It has no brain, it has no neurons, yet slime moulds are capable of solving complex problems with extreme efficiency. In one of the most well-known slime mould experiments, scientists left the mould to explore a small territory that contained tiny piles of oats. The mould fanned out in a branching pattern that created a series of strong network trails. Nothing unusual there, perhaps. However, the piles of oats were not random. They were strategically placed to match the train stations in and around Tokyo City. The slime mould was started from Central Station, and the mould morphed itself in a network, a route that was amazingly close to that of the actual rail system, and it did it in just 26 hours. The mould's hunt for food matched the precision of our best systems planners and engineers, but in a fraction of the time. Slime moulds can build distinctions, they can make systems, they can solve mazes, including navigating IKEA. They can share knowledge by fusing with other slime moulds. They have perspectives and so much more. All things humans can do, you might be thinking. Well, yeah, but there are some crucial differences. And it's in these differences, what you might call the core values or boundaries of being a slime mould, that inspiration abounds for economists, for scientists, for engineers, for artists, and for me. So, sustainable change, slime mould style. I'd like to share 4 key insights. Number 1, slime mould maintains a constant conversation between its collective self and the natural environment. communicating via oscillation, like the ripple of a wave along a long piece of string. For us, this means recognizing that communication is not effective in isolated parts. We need to join our conversations for change together and ensure a continuous flow of feedback and feed forward between all of our various parts, all done with the constant input, reflection and connection to our wider natural and social environment. As naturalist John Muir says, when we try to pick out anything by itself, we find it hitched to everything else in the universe. So we need to remind ourselves that we are part of natural and social systems. We're not on the outside looking in. So we need to learn to notice the signals that our systems are constantly sharing with us. And then take the time to understand what these signals might actually mean. Which takes us to insight number 2. Slime mould continuously learns, and then it acts as a collective, anticipating change and in response to the signals it's receiving from its surroundings. For us, this means anticipating the changes ahead, informed by the signals that we've picked up from the environment and from society, and then prioritizing and making collective decisions and actions accordingly. It also means cultivating a growth mindset. That is recognizing that our abilities can grow and change over time if we let them. If we set dedicated time, especially with others, to learn, to practice sustainable change and then reflect, we can all evolve. We can gain more agency and also positive focus. So perhaps we should think of sustainability not as a destination, not as a thing, but as an iterative learning process. That in order to work, we need to share in together. We need to create and maintain intelligent, inclusive peer, community and business networks, where we are all equal partners for change and diverse perspectives are championed. As the more perspectives, the more networks and the more learning and sharing, and also the more doing, mean that we'll have more diverse solutions, greater resilience, and also many more versions of a shared sustainable future. Which takes us to insight number 3. In hostile environments, slime mould changes state completely. No longer a collection of amoeba-like organisms hunting for food, the slime mould transforms. It transforms into a slug-like mass to make a very slow getaway. A multicellular organism working together with differentiated parts and roles, all focus on survival, yet with no brain. For us, this means operating as one entity, taking collective action for our shared survival. And although we're separate individuals, teams, communities, businesses, cultures, if we look, we can always find and connect with others. And then as teams, we can co-create a clear, shared story, one that others can then choose to follow, and where all parties are playing a key part in making change happen, no matter how big or small. A central part of turning our stories, vision into reality is having clear values that align into simple actions that enable and empower us to achieve both our personal and collective goals. But it's really important that we recognise values are both personal, they are professional, and also organisational. And ideally, each of these need to align. They also need to match the story that we're telling and the vision we're working towards. What are your sustainable values? And what do these mean in practice for you? Do they match personally, professionally, organisationally? And most importantly, do they integrate with the collective purpose and vision that you're working towards? If not, as information scientist Kate Rutter says, then you need to choose. You need to choose what you won't give up. Without guilt or shame, You also need to choose what you're willing to leave behind, and then be honest. Be honest about your choices to the rest of us so that we can fill any gaps, but also so we can support you to come along with the wider change. Which takes us to insight number 4, last but not least. Slime moulds have found their niche. They are a crucial part of fostering healthy environments. To manage our uncertainty and to cope with the transitions, we each have to have a part in setting the groundwork and to recognise that we are part of something bigger and that also we have a niche. We can help ourselves and others find our niches by creating trusting spaces and making time. Space and time to share, to listen to our stories and notice where we're at now, so that together as a team, as a community, as an organisation, we can be clear about the future we are working towards, both actively, but also incidentally, through our values, through our actions, and through the relationships that we have and hold. Space and time also to communicate, to innovate, but to slow down, so we can feel into the change, listening, learning, and reflecting, to make sure that we're on track together. As James Goodman from Forum for the Future says, having the time and space to come together to reflect and discuss is in itself an act of change. We need to trust that in offering time and safe spaces, people will meet us there, and that amazing things will then happen. From a business perspective, Google's a great example. Their engineers are encouraged to spend 20% of their work time on projects of personal interest. It's estimated that approximately 1/2 of new product launches are based on products that emerge from that 20% of time. Systems thinker and master slime mould advocate John Thackera states, "You don't need to make a big change in the world to have a meaningful relationship with it. Just like slime mould, it doesn't need to be reassured that it's going to change the world. It's doing its thing in a local context, with the capacity to thrive by seeking out connections." So I invite you to join me and be more like slime mould. Authentically communicate, listen, learn, and respond. And perhaps most importantly, connect to your surroundings, but also to others, so that together we can create diverse solutions and diverse visions of a sustainable future. And whilst doing all this really serious and crucial work, recognise that we also need to thrive in our here and now. So let's make sure sustainable is also fun. And in doing all of these things, to know that good things will happen. Thank you for listening.